In this video, we are going to look at dividing polynomials using long division. But before we look at polynomials, we're just going to look at numbers. Okay, so you can see we have a little division problem over here. Suppose we want to divide 842 by 15. And so we have that division problem set up right here. Notice we have some terminology. The number under the division symbol, we call that the dividend. The number out front, the number we're dividing by, is called the divisor. And then the answer is called the quotient. There's going to be one more thing we have down here at the bottom when we actually do the math called the remainder. So let's take a look at that. So just a refresher of how we do long division. So what we look at first is we want to know how many times does 15 go into 84? Okay, well, 15 goes into 84 5 times. And then remember what we do next. We multiply down. 5 times 15, and that gives me 75. Then we subtract. So we would draw a line here to indicate we're going to do arithmetic and change this. It was a positive 75. If we want to subtract it, we're going to change it to a negative 75. So when we do that subtraction, we get a 9. And then we drop down the next digit. So we now have 92. And now we start that whole procedure over again. So this time we want to ask, how many times does 15 go into 92? And the answer is 6. Again, we multiply down. 6 times 15 gives us 90. Again, we subtract. So this becomes a minus. Draw our line there. 92 minus 90 is 2. How many times does 15 go into 2? Well, it doesn't, so we are done, and that's the missing piece over here. That number is called our remainder. So if we wanted to, we could write that 842 divided by 15 is equal to 56 plus our remainder. When we write our remainder in this way, we put it over the divisor, so plus 2 over 15. And then you can see here we have next to check the answer that we got. You can always multiply the quotient by the divisor and add the remainder. Okay, so quotient, that's the answer we got. So in this case, that was 56 times the divisor, that's the number out front, times 15, plus your remainder. Just the remainder as a whole number, not as a fraction like we wrote it here. Be careful on your order of operations. You want to do that 56 times 15 first, and then add the 2, and that gives us 842, which matches our original dividend. So that means that our answer checks out. So we can always use that procedure to check our answer for long division with numbers or long division with polynomials. Okay, so if we're going to switch gears and now do long division with polynomials, first thing we want to do is write each polynomial in standard form. And standard form means our exponents need to be sorted from largest to smallest. So you want them in descending order. And I think most of the problems you get will already be in that order, but that's what we mean here by standard form. And then the process from there is similar to dividing two integers. So in our examples here, we want to find the quotient and remainder. It asks us to check our work. I don't know that I'm going to check these first two. I will check a couple for you, but I don't have a lot of room here. So this has 2c squared plus 2c minus 7 divided by c minus 3. So the c minus 3 is the divisor. That's going to go out front. The 2c squared plus 2c minus 7, that's your dividend, that goes inside. So what we're looking for here is how many times does c go into 2c squared? Or an easier way to think about that, I think, is what would I have to multiply c by to turn it into 2c squared? Or another thing you can think of is 2c squared divided by c. One of the c's cancels and we get 2c. That's what I would need to multiply c by to turn it into 2c squared, 2c. Once we have that number up top, we multiply down. Be careful, you need to distribute that 2c into c minus 3. So 2c times c is 2c squared. Those should always match if we did it right. And then 2c times -3 is minus 6c. That's what we get when we multiply down. Next up, you want to subtract. We have to subtract this entire line we just wrote down. So a little rhyme that sticks in my head when I do this is draw the line and change the sign. So we flip the signs to make it a subtraction. And these first two terms should always zero each other out. We did it that way by design. Our next two terms, 2c minus a -6c becomes plus 6c, so we have 8c. And then we bring down our next term. Okay, next we ask ourselves, what would I have to multiply c by to turn it into 8c? Or another way to think of it is 8c divided by c. So what I need up there is an 8. So positive 8 up here. Multiply down, again distributing into that divisor. So 8 times c is 8c. 8 times -3 is minus 24. Draw the line and change the sign. 8c minus 8c is 0. -7 plus 24 is 17. What can I multiply c by to turn it into 17? Well, I can't, so this is our remainder. So our answer, here is our quotient, that's part of our answer, and our remainder, that's the other part of our answer. And if we're asked to write that out as a single statement, it would be the quotient plus the remainder over the original divisor. So that's our first answer. Okay, let's do another one of those. Really, practice helps a lot on these, just getting used to the algorithm that we're doing. So this time we're dividing by x plus 2, so that goes out front. And under the division sign is the 3x cubed minus 3x squared plus x plus 1. Notice my exponents are already in decreasing order, so we're good to go there. What would you have to multiply x by to turn it into 3x cubed? Well, we need to multiply it by a 3 before, for sure. We have 1x and we need to have 3 total, so we need 2 more. Multiply down, so take the 3x squared on top and distribute it into your divisor. So we get 3x cubed plus 6x squared. Now we're going to subtract, so you draw the line and change the sign. The first two terms zero out. The next two, we get a minus 3x squared minus 6x squared, so that's -9x squared. Drop down your next term, and we're ready to start that whole process all over again. What do you multiply x by to turn it into -9x squared? Well, we need a -9 there for sure. We have a single x, we want an x squared, so we need one more x. Then we take this -9x and distribute it down. So we get minus 9x squared minus 18x. We're going to subtract next. So we draw a line and change the signs. Minus 9x squared plus 9x squared, that zeroes out because we planned it that way. X plus 18x is 19x. Bring down your last term. What do you have to multiply x by to turn it into 19x? Well, we'd have to multiply it by 19. Distribute that 19 down, so we get 19x plus 19 times 2 is 38. Draw the line and change the signs to subtract. 19x minus 19x goes away. 1 minus 38 is -37. So there is our quotient, and there is our remainder. And if we wanted to write that out as a single statement, our answer would be 3x squared minus 9x plus 19 plus the remainder, -37, over the divisor, x plus 2. There is our answer for that one. Okay, really just repeating these, working that process over and over again. Practice makes perfect. That's going to be the best way to figure out how to do this technique. Here's two more examples, divide and check. And on this one, I will go ahead and check our answer because I didn't check it on those first two, and you should have some practice with that too. So our first example on this page, we have x plus 1 out front. That's our divisor, and that's going into x cubed minus 4x squared minus 3x plus 2. Okay, what do you have to multiply x by to turn it into x cubed? Well, there's one x already. We need 3 total, so we need 2 more. Distribute it down so you get x squared times x, which is x cubed, and x squared times 1, which is x squared. Draw your line and change your sign to subtract. First two terms zero out. Negative 4x squared minus x squared is minus 5x squared. Drop down your next term. That's one round. Now we're ready to do it all again. What do I have to multiply x by to turn it into negative 5x squared? Well, I need a negative 5 for sure. I have one x. I need 2 of them. So I'll multiply by 1 more. Distribute that negative 5x down into your divisor. So you get negative 5x squared minus 5x. Draw the line and change the sign to subtract. Negative 3x plus 5x is 2x plus 2. Oh, sorry, I said plus 2 quickly, dropped it down. That's where that came from. Sorry, it was just 2x, and then we dropped down the next term. One more time, same process. What do I multiply x by to turn it into 2x? Well, x times 2 is 2x. Distribute that 2 down, and we get 2x plus 2. To subtract, draw your line and change your sign. 2x minus 2x is 0. 2 minus 2 is 0, so this one does not have a remainder. The remainder is 0. So this will be a nice one to check. Make sure we didn't make any mistakes. To check our work, you take the divisor, what's out front, what you're dividing by, and you multiply it by your answer. So our answer here was x squared minus 5x plus 2. And then we would add our remainder, but we didn't have a remainder this time. It was just 0. So we can just do the multiplication to check. So to multiply here, we need to distribute twice. So we'll distribute the x. Oh, here, let's try to get a different color there. Distribute that x. So we get, we'll make our check purple. We get x cubed for x times x squared, and then x times negative 5x, and then x times 2. And then we distribute the second term, and we get plus x squared minus 5x plus 2. We want to gather up any like terms. There's only one cubed, so we just have x cubed. But we do have a negative 5x squared and a plus x squared. So that gives us negative 4x squared. We do have a positive 2x and a negative 5x. So that gives us minus 3x. And then we have that plus 2. And you'll notice this matches exactly what we had up there to start with under the division sign. Okay, so our final, this was just our check, this wasn't our answer. Our final answer, the quotient is x squared minus 5x plus 2. There was no remainder, so that's it. Okay, it'd be a good time for you to pause and try this one on your own, and then press play when you're ready to see me work it. So here we go. We want to take y minus 2 into 2y cubed plus 5y squared minus 21y plus 1. What do I have to multiply y by to turn it into 2y cubed? I need a 2 and a y squared. Distribute this down, so 2y squared times y, and 2y squared times negative 2. Draw the line and change the sign. So when we do the arithmetic, the first terms cancel out. Here we get 5y squared plus 4y squared. Drop down your next term. What do I have to multiply y by to turn it into 9y squared? I need a positive 9 and another y. Distribute positive 9y into your quotient. Draw the line and change the sign to subtract. Negative 21y plus 18y leaves us with negative 3y. Drop down that last term. What do I have to multiply y by to turn it into negative 3y? That would be a negative 3. Distribute that negative 3 into your divisor. Draw your line and change your signs. And when we do this last arithmetic here, the 3 y's cancel each other out. We have 1 minus 6, so our remainder is negative 5. So our answer, 2y squared plus 9y minus 3, I'm going to run out of room here, plus negative 5 over y minus 2. Now again, it asked us to check, so if we needed to check and needed to show our work, we would take our answer. We'll take the divisor. Again, let's make that check a different color so it doesn't run together. Here's our check. We take the divisor times our quotient plus our remainder. Okay, so again, we need to do some multiplying of polynomials here. We'll distribute the y and we will get, let's see here, distribute the y first. So here we get, colors are jumping around on me, just a second, here we go. So y times 2y squared and y times 9y and y times negative 3. And then negative 2 times 2y squared, and negative 2 times 9y, and negative 2 times negative 3, and then that minus 5 we have on there at the end from the remainder. Gather up your like terms. We have a 9y squared and a minus 4y squared. We have a negative 3y and a negative 18y. And then we have a plus 6 and a minus 5, and we want to check, does that answer match our original dividend up at the top? Let's see, our dividend was 2y cubed plus 5y squared minus 21. It does, so that works. Remember, that was our check. Here was our answer. I kind of ran out of room and wrote it on 2 lines, but hopefully you can see that. There was our answer, and the work in black was our check. Okay, we got a couple more here. Definitely want to take a look at this number 3 because we got something interesting going on here. So we haven't had to do this yet, but remember at the beginning we talked about how the polynomial needs to be written in standard form, which means that we need our exponents in decreasing order. So here we have x minus 4 going into x cubed. Notice there's no x squared term there, but we need to put a placeholder in for that x squared, or our like terms aren't going to line up and the arithmetic just isn't going to work. So when you have a power of x missing, you have to put in a 0 coefficient as a placeholder, just like I wrote there. Once we remember to do that, the rest of the math works pretty much the same. What do I multiply x by to turn it into x cubed? Well, I need to multiply it by x squared. Distribute that x squared down. Subtract, so draw a line and change the sign. 0x squared plus 4x squared is 4x squared. Drop down your next term. What would I multiply x by to turn it into 4x squared? Well, I would need a 4 and an x. distribute that 4x down. So I get 4x squared minus 16x. We're subtracting. Now I'm using different colors to change my signs. If I had to do all of this in the same color, like if I was doing it in my notebook with just a pencil, I would draw a line and I change the signs and I circle them so I know that I changed them. That's how I know I'm doing the subtraction. So I might start writing like that for a while, since you guys don't always have multiple colors when you're doing your notes. So the 4x squareds cancel. We get minus x plus 16x. So that gives me a 15x. Drop down the last term. What would I multiply x by to turn it into 15x? Well, I'd multiply it by 15. Distribute it down. I get 15x. And 15 times negative 4 is negative 60. Draw your line and change your signs. So our remainder is 61. Let me scroll down a little bit to give a little more space. So that means our final answer would be x squared plus 4x plus 15. There's our quotient plus our remainder over x minus 4. There is our final answer for that long division problem. Let's see which ones we want to do next. Okay. We're just going to skip. Oh, no, maybe we shouldn't skip that one. Okay, we'll do that one too. We'll do 2 more examples. Okay, number 4. This time on the outside, we are dividing by 7x plus 1, and that is going into 7x cubed minus 6x squared plus 20x plus 9. You can see we have all the powers of x. We have x to the third, x squared, x to the first, and then no x. So we don't need any placeholders like we needed in number 3. So this one, what would I multiply 7x by to turn it into 7x cubed? Well, I just need to multiply it by an x squared because the 7's already there. Distribute it down. Draw your line, change your sign. The 7x cubes cancel each other out. We get minus 6x squared minus x squared, so that's a negative 7x squared. Drop down your next term. What would I multiply 7x by to turn it into negative 7x squared? Well, it would need a minus x. Distribute that down. Draw your line and change your signs. The first terms cancel out. 20x plus x is 21x plus 9. Bring down that last term. What would you multiply 7x by to turn it into 21x? You would multiply it by 3. Distribute that 3 back down. Draw your line and change your signs. 9 minus 3 is 6. There is our final answer. Our quotient is x squared minus x plus 3 plus our remainder 6 over 7x plus 1. Okay, we'll do one last one together. We'll do number 5. And then I think that'll be a pretty good place to stop. For number 5, we have x minus 1 as our divisor, and we are going into 5x cubed. Now be careful here. We are missing the x squared term, and we're missing the x term, and then we have a constant of 3. So we need 2 placeholders in that one. So that's the tricky part. Make sure you set it up correctly. Then from there, it's the same as all the last examples. What do I multiply x by to turn it into 5x cubed? I need a 5, and I need an x squared. Distribute 5x squared into your divisor. We get 5x cubed minus 5x squared. Draw the line and change the signs. The first 2 terms cancel out, and we get 0x squared plus 5x squared. Drop down your next term. It's just a placeholder, but we still want to put it there. What do I multiply x by to turn it into 5x squared? I would need to multiply it by, a 5 and an x. Distribute that 5x down. Draw your line and change your signs. 0x plus 5x is 5x. Drop down that last term. What do you multiply x by to turn it into 5x? Well, you'd have to multiply it by 5. Distribute that 5 down. Draw your line and change your signs to subtract. Our remainder is 8. So if we wanted to write out our final answer, it would be 5x squared plus 5x plus 5 plus 8 over x minus 1. And that's it.